let's go to our reporter, Minenhle Hlela, who is at SAFA House. And we are still giving you that rolling coverage of the 60th anniversary of the death of Senzo Meyiwa. Minenhle, thank you so much. You are at SAFA House, the home of South African football. Senzo Meyiwa was, I don't know if I can call it an employee of SAFA in some way or another, because he had played 6 times for Bafana at the time of his death. Some argue that Bafana would have done a lot better had Senzo Meyiwa still been alive. Is that the case?
Well, Benji, unfortunately, we will never know. We'll never know. 6 years ago, that was taken away from us. But, you know, Senzo was starting to really make his mark at Bafana level. He was already making his mark at Orlando Pirates. But like I said to Ainda earlier on, the stiff competition from Ito Kune was always there. And, you know, being given the captain's armband was just a sign that maybe he was ready to take over the gloves and be actually number one. The difficulty about goalkeeping, Benjamin, when we look at it in football terms, goalkeepers tend to take longer to break into the team, and when they do, they should take that opportunity, because, you know, to knock him out of that position, you know, takes a very exceptional goalkeeper. Itu at the time was an exceptional goalkeeper. Senzo was an exceptional goalkeeper, but they could only play one. And at the time, Kune was at his best. They competed at junior level, they competed at the national level. So, you know, it was always that rivalry between the two of them. And we always knew that, you know, it was always going to be one of those two who would represent South Africa when it came to goalkeeping. But at the same time, Monique Josephs, who had been an experienced goalkeeper for years, he was also in the mix. So whoever the national coach was at the time, there was that difficulty of between these 3 men, somebody had to be in between the sticks. But when Senzo got his opportunity, he showed that he was very much capable of taking that position and riding with it, and even captaining Bafana moving forward. Unfortunately, 6 years ago, that opportunity for it to grow was taken away, not only from his family, not only from Orlando Pirates, not only from Bafana and SAFA, but the whole of South Africa.
One thing that set Senzo Meyiwa apart from other goalkeepers, Minenhle, is the fact that he had experience when it comes to the African continent, because Orlando Pirates had played a lot of matches when it comes to the CAF Champions League. So they had traveled to the DRC, they had traveled to North Africa, countries like Libya, like Egypt, like Morocco. They had played those countries, and that gave him a lot of experience, and he did well. He was no slouch in those matches as well. Would Bafana in particular have made the continent their own? Because that's where we've struggled against countries that have players playing in the Champions League. Orlando Pirates has it, Mamelodi Sundowns has it. Unfortunately, Kaizer Chiefs doesn't have a lot of those players. Would that have been the difference between the sticks, the experience of playing around Africa?
And I think, Ben, it's not their goalkeeping expertise that made them count into the national team. It was the character that gets built behind it. To travel across Africa for South African teams is a very, very, very difficult thing, because you're catching flights, you're staying in hotels that you're not accustomed to. There's also the food situation. You know, there's a lot of things that you're not accustomed to that you have to customize yourself and get to know very well. And that built character, that built a fighting spirit, and you certainly saw it within Senzo at Orlando Pirates, and he was able to start to bring that within the national team, that when you're out in any country across the African continent, you had to be strong. That character of resilience, of a fighting spirit, it had to come across. Do not fear the crowd or what happens in the crowd when they intimidate you. Focus at the job at hand. And that experience, he got a lot from traveling with the Orlando Pirates, whether it was the CAF Confederations Cup, whether it was the CAF Champions League. And he started to bring that in within the national team and, you know, bring that influence within other players who've never been outside the country, who've never been taken on any African competition. And that was key of putting him into the sticks. Yes, Itu was a brilliant goalkeeper, but Itu never had that experience of their character being built, of being there in the trenches, of having to fight for your lives, if I can put it. Because for Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns, who've traveled the continent for the last few years, that's how it's been. It's like fighting for your lives when you're out there. And Senzo was able to bring that characteristic into the national team as number one goalkeeper.
Minenhle, that building behind you there's been a lot of talk on such days about Senzo Meyiwa. It happens every year. Do you get the feeling that it's just on such days and it's almost like he's a forgotten soldier of South African football?
I think football fans and South Africans will be even more disappointed at SAFA because a statue was promised to remember Senzo and the efforts that he put out for the national team. I remember Danny Jordan, along with the Minister of Police, the amount of illegal guns and firearms that are out there. So it was a combination of that. Sadly, Ben, it's 6 years later, and I can show you now, that is SAFA House. I do not see a statue of Senzo Meyiwa. I do not even see any foundation at all that's trying to be put in there. So it gives you the sense that we were still very far from seeing that statue being put up. So is this SAFA just talking and not doing the walk? It certainly looks like it at this present moment.
All right, Minenhle Hlela, you're going to be having a busy day covering this particular story. Just give us an idea of what we can expect from you today.
Later on, Ben, we're out in Soweto to catch one of the Orlando Pirates supporters branch. But I'll also be going to Orlando Stadium, where Senzo Meyiwa played his very, very last game before his life was tragically taken from us. I'll be bringing you some updates about the people around Orlando, what they remember best about Senzo, what they thought was very special about Senzo. The same thing I'll be doing, bringing in updates just of how fans viewed Senzo and his spirit and how well he represented Orlando Pirates.
All right, Minenhle Hlela, our reporter out at SAFA House in Nasrec. He'll be covering that story the entire day. As you heard, he will be at the Orlando Stadium a little bit later on, and also looking forward to him talking to the supporters branch out in Klipspruit a little later this morning.